Hello and welcome to My Web Academy. My name's Ben Neal and today I'm going to be talking about understanding the competition from Google's point of view. Now this is part one of a two-part class. Part two will be following next week. So in last week's class we learnt about the most important part of search engine optimization, which is of course understanding your market. So last week, Bruce taught you how to find out what search terms your prospects are typing into Google to find your products or services. And crucially, he taught you how to find out the number of people who are searching using these search terms. So essentially he explained to you about demand. Now this week, we're going to be talking about the other side of the equation, supply. We're going to be analysing the other websites targeting the same search terms. That's right, the competition. And once we've done that, we're going to put the two sides of the equation together, supply and demand, and then try to identify your most effective search terms, the niche search terms if you like. Okay, so analysing the competition. What does this mean? Well, really it means how difficult will it be to rank for a particular search term given the competition. Now the bold truth is, if you have no one else, if there are no other websites competing for a particular search term, it's going to be easy to rank for that search term. At the other end of the spectrum, of course, if there are millions of competing websites, it's going to be very difficult, probably, to rank for that particular search term. Now those are extreme examples. The truth is probably somewhere in between for most search terms. Now who are the competition? Well, we're looking at the websites ranking on page 1 for Google, the top 10. Interestingly, they may not be the companies you regard as your competition in the real world. However, those are the websites that we are interested in. We're interested in how many competing web pages there are for a particular search term, and we're also interested in how good those web pages are. So it's quantity and quality. Both aspects are important in analysing the competition. How do we go about doing this? Well, fortunately, there are some free tools available and some commonly available tools. First of all, there's the Google Keyword tool that Bruce introduced you to last week. We're going to be revisiting that. There's Google itself, and there's good old Microsoft Excel, which most people have installed on their computers, but of course other spreadsheet apps are available. Okay, let's go back to the Google Keyword tool. We're going to do a very similar search to last week, Sash window repair. I'm putting in here. Click on the search button and up pops the list of key phrases that have been suggested. Now last week we were interested in the local monthly searches, the number of people searching for a particular search term in the UK at any given month. This week we're looking at this second column, competition, which actually rates each search term high, medium or low in terms of competition. Now this rating is to do with AdWords or pay-per-click, not the natural search engines, not the sort of thing we're looking at with search engine optimization. Now I'm just going to explain the difference between those two things. Now we're going to hop over to Google now and do a search on, what should we say, Sash window replacements. That'll do. Okay, here's the search results page. Scroll down a bit, and if you have a look here on the left hand side, these are the so-called organic search results. Now these results, these websites, Google deems to be of value and of relevance to the search that you've just carried out. On the right hand side we have AdWords or pay-per-click. These are adverts. Website owners have paid to be here. Every time you click on one of these links, the website owner pays Google a few pence or a few pounds, however much they bid to be there. Now, somewhat confusingly, these ads sometimes appear in the left-hand side as well at the top. They are labelled ads and they have a yellowish background, but it's a bit confusing because they're above the organic or natural results. Okay, so given that we're interested in the organic or natural search engine results, how useful is this Google Keyword Tools competition rating? Well, the high, medium or low rating, that lacks precision, but it does give us a bit of a guide to how competitive each search term is. It's really about AdWords and not the organic search. It's about how much people are prepared to pay to be there on the right hand side. However, there's often some correlation between the AdWords competition and the organic search results competition as well, so it's not completely fruitless. But at the end of the day, it's a useful guide, but it's only really a starting point. So how do we go about getting some more precision in our competitive analysis? Well, we're going to go back to the Google Keyword Tool again, actually, because we need to actually look at the local monthly searches, get that information out of the Google Keyword Tool and into Excel. Now I'm just going to select the first half dozen or so of these. Really, you should be selecting the most relevant key phrases and the ones with the highest local monthly searches. But I'm just going to go for speed. I'm just going to go and sort of 15 or 16 phrases, and then I'm going to click the download button and download selected 16, and I'm downloading CSV for Excel. This is going to allow me to import this particular set of phrases and the data into Excel. So that's to get the local monthly search volume into Excel for each key phrase. I also need to get the number of competing web pages for each search term. Now, how do I do this, do you think? Well, funnily enough, in every single search carried out on Google, it actually gives you that information. Now, for Sash Window Repair, you can see here there's approximately 2.6 million web pages, competing web pages for this term. That means that there are that number of pages which are Google deems to be related to Sash Window Repair. Given that there are only 10 places on page 1 of Google, that's quite a lot of competition, 2.6 million. Right, now I'm going to talk to you about a keyword effectiveness index. Now that's, sorry about that, it's a horrible techie term. I'll try to explain it without blowing anyone's brains. It's relatively straightforward. It's a simple ratio. What I'm going to do is take the number of searches for a search term, that's the local monthly searches, and divide that by the number of competing pages for a search term, and then multiply it by 100 because that gives us a more usable number. I'm going to demonstrate that in Excel. It's a lot more simple once you see it actually being demonstrated. Now here is the export from the Google Keyword Tool. I've brought that into Excel. I'm going to delete these two columns here because I'm not really interested in them. Let's get rid of those, and then I'm looking at just the keyword column and the local monthly searches for the UK column. Okay, now I'm going to add a couple of extra columns. I'm going to add a competition column, like so, and a KEI column, that's the Keyword Effectiveness Index column. Okay, right, now I'm going to select the keyword here with the highest local monthly searches. Sash Window has got 74,000 monthly searches. And I'm going to go and find out how many competing web pages there are for that term. I've typed it into Google, and there you go, it's just over 2.8 million competing pages for Sash Window, and I'm going to paste that in to the competition column opposite Sash Window. Now, going back to that formula that I described in the previous slide, I'm going to take the local monthly searches, divide it by the competition, the number of competing web pages, times it by 100, and it gives us a KEI of 2.596. Okay, I'm going to do that with another key phrase, one with a lower local monthly searches. Sash window replacement has 4,400 monthly searches and actually has about the same number of competing web pages, 2.68 million. So I'll paste that in to the competition column and apply the same formula. Now you can see that has a much lower KI of 0.164. Okay. Now what you would do is actually do the same thing for all of these key phrases and then order them, sort them by the KI column, so you had the highest KI at the top. Well, what does this mean exactly? It's just a load of figures, isn't it? Essentially, the higher the KI, the more searches and the less competition your search terms have. So the rule of thumb is, the higher your KI, the better your chances of getting onto Google's top table, getting into that top 10 on page 1. Now, that all sounds very straightforward, but unfortunately there are some limitations with KEI, Keyword Effectiveness Index. We've seen how it looks at the quantity of the competition, but what it doesn't do is it takes no account of the quality of the competition. So yes, there could be 2.8 million competing web pages, but if they're all rubbish in Google's eyes, it's still going to be quite easy to rank for those search terms. So how do we analyse the quality of the competition? Well, unfortunately we've run out of time for this week, so I'll be looking at that next week, Understanding Your Competition Part 2. In the meantime, here's some homework for you. If you export the relevant search terms with high local monthly searches from Google's keyword tool, export it as a CSV for Excel, as we demonstrated earlier today. And then if you can find out the number of competing web pages for each search term, that means entering each search term into Google and copying and pasting that figure into Excel along with your search terms, and then apply the KEI formula to identify the most effective search terms. Thank you very much for joining us today. See you again next week.